My name is Karen Hertz, and I am the Chief Brewista and founder of Holiday Brewing in Golden, Colorado.
You are the only certified gluten-free brewery in the state.
That's right. We are the only certified, dedicated, gluten-free brewery in the state. All we make is gluten-free beer.
Why?
We are the brewery that makes only gluten-free beer because of really a combination of my history, my education. I have an MBA in entrepreneurial studies. I worked at Coors for about 10 years in the brewing and beer industry. And then I ran into health issues. In 2007, I was diagnosed with melanoma. And in 2008, I was diagnosed with thyroid cancer and an autoimmune thyroid disease. And my doctors recommended at that point that I cut gluten out of my diet. And I had worked at Coors at the time and live in Colorado, where craft beer is such a big part of our community, and felt like there had to be a way to make great craft beer that happened to be gluten-free.
So tell me a little bit about your cancer journey.
All right.
That had to have a massive impact on your life.
It definitely did. Yeah, no,
forward.
it definitely did. I was diagnosed with melanoma when I was pregnant with twins, so had to get that treatment while all that was going on. And then had the twins, and a couple months later went to the doctor telling them how tired I was, feeling like, no kidding, you have twin babies at home, and almost silly for telling her, but ended up finding that I had cancer tumors on my thyroid, had to get my thyroid removed, and radiation treatments done for that as well. It was not a good 2 to 3 years of my life. I'm definitely glad it's behind me. And I think in terms of what it definitely taught me is just perseverance. And, starting your own business is really, really hard, and it can be difficult, but I know how to persevere. I've been through some really hard times before. So I think that was the biggest lesson for me.
So you came out on the other side of this, had to cut out gluten.
Yeah.
You worked at Coors,
Yeah.
which is not
gluten-free.
Gluten-friendly at all. How did you make the decision to go from working there to kind of starting your own thing? Talk to me about the progression.
Yeah, I think it was sort of just an idea, or really just something I selfishly wanted. So I started home brewing, trying out ingredients, seeing what would work in beer to make really beer that tasted like beer, not cider, or sorghum syrup can make some funny off flavors in beer. And so the next step was researching ingredients, learning how to brew a little bit so I could understand the language. And I knew the beer business side of it. So it just kind of all came together in an understanding of beer and how to brew, and that I could make a gluten-free craft beer at home. And then ultimately just taking the leap and saying, I think there's other people out there that would really like to have a beer at a tailgate party or a Bronco game or après ski, and it's Colorado. We like beer.
Yes, we do. So before that, you had never homebrewed before.
No.
That was your first foray into it.
Right. Yeah. My craft beer experience and just beer industry experience was more in distribution and sales than actually brewing. And I don't brew the beer here. We have professional commercial brewers that do that here. I don't trust myself.
Okay. So then you moved forward into thinking, other people would want this. And thus the business plan started forming,
Yes,
I'm assuming?
for sure. Yeah, wrote a business plan, found some space for where the brewery would be, and found a commercial brewer with over 2 decades of brewing experience that happened to be willing to try this gluten-free thing when I was looking for a brewer. And that was one of the luckiest things that happened, because he really helped take the quality of the beer to the next level. It didn't just taste like me randomly cooking it in my kitchen or brewing it in my kitchen. It really became a professional commercialized beer.
So when you were looking for the professional brewer,
Yeah.
did you have any issues trying to find someone that would be like, okay, fine, I will take a chance on this?
Yeah, I was really nervous about it for sure. And I put an ad out on the Brewers Association just to see what would happen. And I did get a couple home brewers that said, oh yeah, I'm celiac and I want to brew. And then I had a couple other brewers with a small amount of industry experience, but this one just stood out. I mean, he brewed for Bell's in Michigan, which is a really well-known brewery. He was at Wincoop at the time, so he just had a tenured past as far as brewing, and it worked out great.
And so when he came on board, tell me about the collaboration process there.
Yeah. Initially, he came on board. We opened in February of 2016. He came on board in October of 2015. And really for that time in between, we were getting the space built out here. And he was just brewing batches in my kitchen on my homebrew set. Well, he'd never brewed with the grains that we use. So it really got him to learn how to work with these grains. And that was really how we started working together, was here's what we want it to taste like, here's what we don't want it to taste like, and then just cranking out batches every single day on our little homebrew system.
Wow. From humble beginnings, for sure.
Yes, for sure.
For sure.
Yes.
So you're kind of hidden away back here.
Yeah.
Why this place? Why this facility? I mean, I love the build out that you guys did here, but like,
thank you.
Why back here?
Yeah. We're located at 801 Brickyard Circle in Golden, and it's in the northern industrial part of Golden. Part of my business plan in the very beginning was wanting to get beer out to people. And I like Golden and I like this location because Boulder's 15 or 20 minutes away, Denver's 15 or 20 minutes away, and the mountains are an hour away. So it's great access for us to get the beer out to people where I knew demand would be for gluten-free beer. The other piece of it was I had a feeling that being the only certified dedicated gluten-free brewery in the state, people that are gluten-free would find us. Being a gluten-free consumer myself, I seek out places that provide quality products that are safe. So I had a feeling people would come here. This spot is beautiful too. We have a great patio here. It's a fun building, lots of parking, which is a good bonus for breweries. And I live in Golden, so it kind of all came together from both the distribution side as well as the taproom side.
So did you kind of rely on word of mouth then? How did you get your name out?
A lot of word of mouth. We put a lot of effort in on our social media too, so we do a lot of that. We participate in beer fests and different events. We support the Denver Celiac group and we do events with them. This group of consumers is very loyal and grows very organically. If you come to Holiday and you have a beer that you love, a lot of people will be quick to post or tell their friends. Or if they try it at a beer fest and they may not be celiac or gluten-free, but they try it and they're like, oh my gosh, this is so good. And then they text their friend that's gluten-free. So that word of mouth really builds for us.
Cool. So talk to me about how this place has grown over the years.
All right.
Let's start with like how much it's grown.
Yeah. I mean, so we opened in February of 2016, and when you talk in beer, you talk in barrels of beer, and a keg is a half a barrel. So in the first year, we brewed 257 barrels of beer. In the second year, we brewed 750 barrels of beer. In the third year, we brewed 1,200 barrels of beer. And this year, we're hoping to brew a little over 2,000 barrels of beer. So that's the rate at which we're growing.
Surprising?
Yes, it's surprising. It's exciting. It's reassuring. It feels like we're getting beer out to people that have needed it or wanted it for a while. It might not be a need.
So you're opening up you have another across the street.
Yeah. It's a production facility that we just opened in May.
And that will build you out to that, 2,000?
No, we will be 2,000. We just switched over there in May,
Okay.
So kind of a combination of the two facilities will get us there. But that facility can get us up to 10,000 barrels.
Holy crap.
So we're projecting to grow quite a bit.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
That is a lot. In 3 years, that is impressive.
That's a lot of beer.
That is a lot of beer.
Yes.
So talk to me about customer reaction, because as you said, this is a product that these people will seek out because that's what they do. They need these alternatives.
Yeah.
Talk to me about customer reaction.
Yeah. I would say the most rewarding part for me since opening the brewery is customer reaction and just interaction with the customers. A lot of these people have either never had beer or drank beer, were into craft beer, maybe even were home brewers, and then diagnosed with celiac or gluten sensitivity, and you feel like that's taken away from you. And they walk in our doors and can have anything on the menu, and we get full-blown tears at the bar. People are just appreciative and excited to be back to craft beer. A lot of thank yous, which is really, really fun. It's the first time we had someone cry, that initial brewer was like, I've had people like my beer before, but I've never had anyone cry over it. So, I mean, I hate to be the one that says I like making my customers cry, but I love that they come in and are really excited to be here and get to taste craft beer again, and they just appreciate it. It's been an awesome experience.
What story stands out to you from one customer that's come in?
Yeah. I mean, probably that one with our brewer, the very first one. I mean, there's all kinds of crazy stories, but in terms of a reaction from a customer, it was a guy that he was a home brewer, really into the craft beer scene. That was his social life, and diagnosed with celiac. And a couple weeks before he came in here, he had a dream about drinking an IPA. And he woke up and was like, you're never going to do this again. You know, stop dreaming about it. It's never going to happen. And they read about us, and he and his wife came in, and he just started crying at the bar and told us a story about his dream. And the brewer and I were looking at each other, and I'm like, just keep talking to him. But we've had spouses come in, and while the person's very happy to be drinking the beer, the spouse is the one that gets emotional and is like, thank you so much. It's such a part of your social fabric in Colorado, and you really do feel left out. So it's a way to just welcome people and really make everybody feel like they get to enjoy the privilege of having a beer.
Nice. So yeah. I want to ask you, how do you get certified as gluten-free?
Yeah, it's a long process, and it's an expensive process. So ultimately, the way you're certified gluten-free, especially in a brewery, is that every ingredient that goes into the beer is gluten-free. And that means the product at the end is gluten-free. But we're required to have staff trainings. We're required to do specific testing on the beer, on different batches, different ingredients. We have reporting we have to do. We have processes and procedures in place. So, I mean, our brewers can't have a sandwich in the back. There's no gluten that enters any of our production facility area. So it's just a lot of requirements and then money. But what it allows us to do is then put a gluten-free certification icon on our products, and consumers are looking for that. It's a way for them to know this is really a safe product for me.
So how do you create a gluten-free beer?
Right.
How?
Magic. Magic. I mean, ultimately, like we talked about, it's the ingredients that go into the beer. Everything that goes into it has to be gluten-free. So when you make any beer, you use water, yeast, hops, and malt. Well, water's gluten-free, hops are gluten-free. We can get our hands on gluten-free yeast pretty easily, but malt is the trick. The grain is the trick. So in most beers, you use barley and wheat. Well, those have gluten in them. So that was the one area that I really had to focus in on when I started my home brewing. What can we replace barley and wheat with? And at the time, a lot of breweries were using syrups like sorghum syrup or rice syrup, and I felt like the beer tasted like they were using syrups. And I found this company in Colorado up in Wellington called Grouse Malt House, and they malt and roast gluten-free grains just like you would barley or wheat. But instead, we utilize their millet and buckwheat. And so it's really an amazing partnership because we can source it here locally, which I love, and it makes great grain. They make great grains that we can put in our beer and make beers that really taste like craft beers.
Cool. So I want to kind of switch gears a little bit. I'll talk to you about being a woman in the brewing industry.
All right.
There is a quote that Sam says that you made.
I did.
And I think you can repeat it.
Yes, all right.
Go ahead.
Yes, I think I said, Women right now in the brewing industry are, the number of women and the positions of power are growing, which is really, really cool. It's an exciting time to be in the brewing industry. And when I first started, really, we've been open about 4 years, but I started about 5 years. I would walk into a room and be the only one in the room without a beard. And now we're growing in numbers, and I think it's showing in some of the creativity of what's coming out of the brewing industry, because it's fresh new ideas and new excitement, and Colorado's an awesome place to be a woman and be in the beer industry. It's really been great.
Excuse me, was the industry, or not really the industry, but what were the brewers and everything, were they very open, were they very welcoming?
Oh yeah, it's been a great experience overall. I mean, while you're the only one without a beard, it's also an advantage. Then next time you go, lots of people remember who you are. So I'm not the one in the room that's feeling sorry for myself that I'm different than the other people. I kind of like it more so as, great, next time we meet, I'm the gluten-free crazy lady that started this brewery, but they remember me. So everyone's been real supportive. We're actually in about 40 different breweries across the state because they want to have a gluten-free option for consumers, but they don't want to deal with trying to figure out how to brew with these grains. And there's a risk of cross-contamination in their systems. So they want, their primary focus is barley-based beers. And when you're brewing with grain, there's dust and there's just a chance for cross-contamination. So rather than risking that, they just call us, and our beer's on tap in about 40 different breweries in Denver Metro.
How does it feel to be so widespread now?
Awesome. It's exciting and it's rewarding to be this widespread. We are in Mile High Stadium, we're in Coors Field, we're up at CU in their stadiums, we've been at the Denver Coliseum for the rodeo. And being a native and getting to go to those places and wait in line and buy my own beer there aren't really words for that. It's really, really cool.
Did you have a moment where you were just like, holy crap?
Every day?
Every day.
Every day, I think. There have been some moments like that. I mean, right before we opened the tap room, it's just like my family that helped me knock down walls. I had my little girls, the twins that I had, helped me knock down walls, and it's just our family. And it was about 10 minutes before we opened the doors, and it was like, whoa, this is really happening. Our new facility it's beautiful and it's exciting and it's state of the art. It's the biggest gluten-free brewery in the country. And it's kind of the same deal. It was the day we were opening it, so everything was really shiny and new and pretty. And everybody left, and I was in that big room all by myself with these huge tanks, and just kind of was like, take this moment, take this in, because it's been a lot of blood, sweat, and tears to make it happen, for sure. Yeah.
You've had some very interesting milestones in your life. The moment that your twins were born, the moment that you were told you were cancer-free, the moment you opened up the brewery, the moment that you opened up that place across the street.
Yeah.
What's next?
World domination. I don't know. What's next for Holidaily? We really are focused this year on Colorado. We want to get corner to corner in Colorado. We want to be the gluten-free beer in Colorado. So that's what we're pushing for in 2019. And then moving into the future, this new facility will get us to some regional markets. So we'll start researching where are some other areas we can make gluten-free beer drinkers happy. So that's really what I'm focused on next for Holidaily.
Cool. A couple other quick questions.
Yeah.
Tell me about the name. Where did it come from?
Oh yeah. So Holidaily came from the idea of anybody that is gluten-free is because it makes them feel better, or they've been diagnosed with cancer or celiac or an autoimmune disease. And with my health history, it was kind of just my life mission to make the most of every single day. And I liked the name 7-Day Weekend. I liked the idea around that, but was worried about packaging. It just seemed really long for a round of package. So Holidaily really means make every day a holiday, or every day's a holiday. And if you're gluten-free, you could have a beer every day now if you want to. So just a big, bright, positive message is what Holidaily is all about.
So another question I wanted to ask you is, what advice would you give to another woman trying or wanting to get into this industry?
That's a good question. I think what advice I would give to a woman? If I had to give advice to a woman coming into the industry, I think the first thing I would tell them is to not be intimidated and not be scared. This is a very collaborative industry, and I haven't felt any recourse because I'm a woman in the industry from anybody. Everybody's been willing to work with me. I think go out there and do it. And like I said, I think women are providing some new, fresh ideas and new, fresh, just different things to the brewing industry. So I would encourage them to go make a difference. And you don't have to be a brewer, and you don't have to be an owner. There are women all throughout the industry in sales, in packaging, in marketing. There's a lot of opportunities, and it's a fun industry to be in. So I would encourage really anyone, and especially women, to get involved because it is really fun.
Out of curiosity, do you happen to know how many women-owned breweries there are in the state?
I don't know in the state. I know that 3% of breweries are women-owned.
Okay.
But I don't know about the state of Colorado. I bet you it's higher in Colorado.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a number nobody can track down. I asked Ann up at the association. She's like, we don't keep track of that. I was like, oh, okay.
I wonder if the guild would.
I don't know. I haven't thought about that one.
Oh, and the new executive director of the guild is a woman.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. So biggest beer state in the country, and our guild is run by a woman. So there's some powerful women in this state contributing to the beer industry for sure.
Do you consider yourself a powerhouse in the industry now?
I don't consider myself a powerhouse in the industry. We've grown a ton as a brewery, but on the grand scale of how big breweries get, we are still a very small brewery. We'll do about 2,000 barrels this year, and New Belgium will do 1 million. So that gives you an idea. It can be a little humbling, so powerhouse might be a little over the top, but I feel empowered for sure.
Okay. How many years have you been to GABF?
This will be our 4th year at GABF.
Have you won?
I have not. This was our 4th year, and we have not won yet. I think we're the Dan Marino of gluten-free beer. That's what I think. He's been to all those Super Bowls and never won, and was one of the best quarterbacks ever and never won. So I'm going to name a beer Dan Marino. Sorry. But we're hoping to pull one off this year.
Which now actually begs the question, what kind of beer would you name Dan Marino?
Wow, that's a good question. I don't know. Whatever wins, we're naming it Dan Marino. What would I? Dan Marino, a Marzen or something. Dan Marino Marzen. I'm not sure.
The Marino Marzen.
That's right.
I kind of like the alliteration.
We love being at GABF, though. I mean, we have a booth there, and we get to be in the Meet the Brewers section, so it's our own representatives there telling people about the grains that we use and really specifics about our beers. So if people have questions, our people are there to help out with that.
How many people actually come up with questions? Is it constant?
Constant. Constant, yeah. They've heard of us, or they see the gluten-free, and they're like, what? And we have the grain out there, so how are you doing gluten-free? And then we also get, are you really gluten-free, or are you gluten-reduced? And that's actually a big difference, and there's a lot of confusion about it, a lot of consumer confusion about it. A gluten-reduced beer is made with barley or wheat, but they drop an enzyme in, and it chops the barley and wheat up to little pieces, but it's still in the beer. So they can call it gluten-reduced, but they can't call it gluten-free. Where a gluten-free beer, it's all gluten-free ingredients in the beginning. I don't know if you want that anyway. So anyway, that's what people ask us questions about is it gluten-free or is it gluten-reduced? It's gluten-free. Well, what ingredients do you use? So that conversation comes up all the time. Where can I get you? Where are you for sale? So tons of questions.
So GABF, of course, is like one of the largest.
Yeah.
Wow, it's just the largest thing.
It is.
Brewery,
it's a beast.
Yeah, it is definitely a beast.
Yeah.
But it's the largest collection probably of brewers in one place.
Yep.
And any given time of the year.
I think so, yeah.
What have these other breweries that are from around the country said to you when they come up to you and they're like, what are you doing?
Yeah, they're very curious. Curious about how we do it. We get lots of questions on how are you doing this? They love to come try it, which is really fun. Lots of times then they'll go get other reps and come back. It's fun. It's fun to share what we're doing with people. I think a lot are surprised at the quality of the beer that we can make with what we're working with. It's mostly just interest in how are you doing this? So it's fun. And we don't give all our secrets, of course.
Have you been asked to do a talk to anybody about this?
Oh yeah, I mean I've spoke at GABF 2 years ago, the Craft Brewers Conference. I've spoke there twice. So yeah, it comes up a lot. We talk about different grains, different ingredient options, how to use them, advantages, disadvantages. So yeah, I've presented quite a bit on how to brew gluten-free, why it matters in the market. Yeah, lots of questions get answered.
What's your favorite part about GABF?
My favorite part about GABF? Well, I grew up here, and so I used to go as a consumer before my gluten-free days. So it's really cool to be on the other side of that, and every year you get to see how far you've come and how many more people know you. And we hand out the coolest swag, which is probably my favorite. So we hand out yellow headbands with a Holidaily logo on the front, and then we'll leave and be out downtown, and like every fifth person is rocking a Holidaily headband. So that's probably my favorite part too.
Nice. So you're entering this year. What are you entering?
We are entering, most of our beers are in the gluten-free, and I can run through them all category, and then we're entering our blonde into the blonde, like just traditional beer blonde, because we think our blonde can hang with, and we think all our beers can, but that particular one, that style, we think our blonde has a shot at winning that style. So otherwise, we've entered our IPA, our stout, our hazy IPA. I can't remember what lager. I think that's about it.
So let's say the blonde wins this year.
Yeah.
Against all the traditional blondes.
Yeah.
How's that going to feel?
That's going to feel awesome. That's going to feel, I don't know. Haven't done it before. Very rewarding, really exciting. We do feel like every year we have a really good shot in the gluten-free category, and it's been real disappointing to come away without a medal. So I look forward to the day that we're up on that stage with Charlie, and I think it's coming. I hope it's this year, but we'll see.
Do you think there'll be any, I don't know if this is the right terminology. Do you think if, let's say you win the blonde, do you think there'll be like a kind of a feeling of vindication?
Yeah.
Of this?
Sure. Yeah, I think if we win the blonde, really reassurance and just ultimate pride in feeling like we make just as good beer, better beer than anybody else. And it doesn't matter that it's gluten-free or not.
Yeah, you can hang, but this would be like everybody now.
It would feel pretty good, yeah.
Yeah. How did you juggle being a mom with being an entrepreneur?
My ultimate motto in all of it was ready, fire, aim. So you got to pull some triggers and take some chances, and if you're headed in the wrong direction, then you need to change up which way you're going. I do think owning my own business helped on the parenting side of things, because I get to decide when I'm at a soccer game or a school concert. I don't feel like there's someone else telling me what should be important to me. So as an owner of a business, I feel like I have better options as a parent to, is there a fly on my head?
No, it flew away.
Sorry. As the owner of a company, I feel like I've opened up better options for myself to be the parent I want to be when I want to be that, not on someone else's time. So I think ultimately it's just led to more flexibility for me, and so far it's worked really well with our family.
What do they think about it?
They're funny. I think they're really proud of it. It's cool. They talk about it. Their friends talk about it. They like to come over here, and people kind of know who they are, so I think they feel a little famous for that. It's good. I think it's been rewarding, and I wonder too if I had boys, because they're twin girls, would I have been as motivated to do it? I really wanted to do it to show them, as a woman, you can do this. If you want to go do it, get after it and make it happen. And that's been really rewarding, having them see this grow and having them see their mom do it. I really love that part of it.
Have they expressed any interest?
In drinking, or
no, in getting into the industry
at 12 years old?
Drinking at 12 years old.
Not a ton, but I think they've got a little entrepreneurial spirit in there. I think they're learning a lot, and their teacher, when they do just a fun project at school, they've had to make marketing programs before or whatever, and the teacher's like, man, you should see the ideas your girls are coming up with, because they watch everything, right? They're watching all of this happen. So I think we've got some influence on them for sure. I don't know if they'll end up wanting to run a brewery, but I think I might be building some little entrepreneurs. We'll see.
Nice. What's your advice to them?
I would say really my ultimate goal is to build confident girls, believe in themselves, and take chances, believe in your dreams, ask for help. I would say that's the biggest advice I would give them.
What's one of the weirdest things they've said to you about this place?
The very first day they came in here, after we opened, that grand opening, and Kate walks in and says, someday this will all be mine. And I was like, and all the debt? That's all yours too.
I don't know your kid, but I like her already.
Oh yeah, she's a piece of work for sure. So that's probably one of my favorites.
Are they identical?
They are not. They're fraternal.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. They're awesome.
That is so cool.
They're awesome.
My fiance is a fraternal twin too.
Oh really?
So yeah.
Awesome.
I always wondered what it would be like to have like an identical twin.
Yeah. I think a twin in general is really cool though. It's like you always have a buddy.
That's true.
Yeah. And someone's got your back.
Also a very good thing to have.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah.
What was the most difficult part about setting all this up, about doing this?
The hardest part for me in setting all of this up was when we were ready to grow and build a new brewery, I had to go out and raise some capital for that. And that is a really challenging process. It's something I hadn't done before. And you're doing it in exchange for equity in your company. I didn't have that experience. It was a difficult part of the business for me. It's hard to ask people for money. They earn it. They want to send their kids to college. So going out and asking them to really invest in me and in my staff and in what we're doing isn't easy. Ultimately, we ended up raising everything we needed, and we got the building built and the equipment. And looking back, I learned so much about myself and was successful in that process, but it's just not an easy process.
You talked about you really learned perseverance through your cancer struggle.
Yeah.
Through this,
yes.
What is something more that you learned about yourself?
That I'm very impatient. Yeah, I'm like, with buildings built, let's go brew all the beer it can brew and sell it to everybody and get it out there. I've learned, things take time. If you want to grow strategically and safely, you really need to be methodical about it, and it's going to take some time. And I am not patient. So I want to get beer out to people already. And it takes a little while.
You want to take over the world.
World domination.
Yes, world domination.
That's right.